Hey, my name is Geher. I am a professor of psychology at the State University of New York at New Paltz. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how the pandemic affected my teaching experience. Obviously, all of higher education was affected by the pandemic. I was in a double bind because not only did I have to modify all my classes immediately in spring of 2020, but I was afflicted with COVID, a pretty moderate case, I'd say, on March 16th of 2020. So it was a rough time for me and for all of us. Let me fast forward a little bit to the summer um, because I also teach every year. I teach a course in basic evolution to students in China at Chongqing University of Education. Typically, I spend about 10 days there. I bring students from my home university there who get a study abroad experience and take this class alongside with the students in China. It's been such a positive experience over the years. I stay connected still to this day with many of the students that I've met through that experience. We've shared meals with them. Several of them have come to visit our family in New York. I've written letters of recommendation, and several of these students have gotten into great graduate programs all around the world, and I feel strongly connected with those students. Summer of 2020, summer of 2021, totally different situation. I had to offer that class completely remotely, right here from upstate New York. I never met any of the students in person. None of the students had their cameras on or their mics on during class except when very specifically requested. And I just cannot underscore how impersonal the experience was. It was so different. I wish I could tell you that I have close connections with those students still. I wish I could tell you that I remember the particulars of several of the students. I wish I could tell you that I plan to support several of them as they move forward into their careers and so forth. That would be a lie. I will tell you that the experience of international teaching completely remotely versus in person was a night and day kind of experience. That said, I'll tell you a couple of silver linings I see, things that I've learned that I will continue to take into my teaching moving forward. I taught statistics in the spring of 2020, and that was always a class that we thought would be very hard to teach remotely or electronically. So there's a couple things that I did. I made high quality videos of every single lecture that I was planning on giving to the T. Um, I didn't want my students to get the short end of the stick when it came to actually getting the full delivery of the material. I got a lot of positive feedback from students saying that that was super helpful and that they really appreciated it, and they were able to slow down and rewind certain parts of the video, and they felt like they really got a ton educationally out of that. That's now, those videos are on YouTube and remain as a resource that I will just freely give to my students and anyone else moving forward. Additionally, during that semester, I made a point of meeting with students individually regularly. Partly, I was giving oral exams, recorded Zoom oral exams, which I never would have thought of before. I found it to be, especially with a strong, clear rubric, a very good way to make sure students understood the material, to assess if they were understanding the material. Additionally, they couldn't really cheat in that kind of context. And I used that time to check in with them, how they were doing personally, how their families were doing, and so forth. So I certainly continue to plan on continuing to use teleconference technology and similar technologies that we relied upon so much during the pandemic to benefit my teaching into the future. So when it comes to what we learned in higher education from the pandemic, as with so many things, there were costs and benefits. That's what I've got to say. I'm Geher from the State University of New York at New Paltz.